I was born today in Australia, and tomorrow in America will be my birthday again. But in my family, it's your birthday until it's somebody else's birthday. So, who else is in September? Who else is in September? All right, so we should be streaming. Let me just see. All right, so this is the card from my mum. She sent it airmail to Hawaii from Australia. It cost an absolute fortune to send things here and from here. I remember I bought her a small box of Hawaiian chocolates just as a treat. Like, I just thought, oh, it'd be cool to have macadamias from here because it's a big thing here, coated in chocolate. It was only about $5 for the box. It was going to cost me like $35 or $40 to send it. And I was like, you know, I could just get something delivered straight there, like awesome, a big basket or something. Do you know what I mean? But I was like, anyhow. So how are you? How is everybody? Now let's just I just want to check. We're streaming on all the other places. We're doing a little class day. I have been getting some questions. Woohoo! Love questions. Don't you love a good question? Questions, comments, you know. Yeah, we're streaming. All right, awesome. We're on Spirit Whisperers, and we're on Rhombus Healing Arts, and we're on what's the other one called? Conscious Evolution and Ascension, I think, and YouTube, my YouTube channel. All right. So easy way to find these lives, if you were wondering, is the YouTube channel. You could just go and there's just all the lives there. Alrighty, how you doing? Can you feel my birthday? Can you feel it? Come on, you can feel it, can't you? Now, many of you who have known me for a long time will know parts of this. So I'm going to share what I used to share every year about birthdays. Okay. So let me just get myself settled with all this technology. Like, I don't even know what's going on. Right. Let me get rid of this. I don't think I need this, do I? I can get rid of that page. All right. So I've got the Restream page, and I've got the Zoom page, and I've got all sorts of things going on, I tell you. But close. No. Oh, it's telling me to close sites so to free up space. Yeah, I'm really, my computer is very, very old, but I love it. So I don't want to get rid of it yet. I did just get a small, really low cost, what do you call it when it's not a Mac? A HP, like a Windows, whatever you call the other systems. The reason why, because I'm a Mac girl, just saying, but the reason why is because I need it for the biofield viewer, and I've been putting it off, but there's so many upgrades and awesome stuff with the biofield viewer that I was like, okay, so I've been here this long, I'm going to have to you know, invest and do that. So I've got it sitting over there. I haven't even opened it yet because I like waiting for my birthday. So it was sort of my birthday present to myself. It was only, you know, a couple $100. It's nothing flash. It's purely for the biofield viewer. So once that's up and running, we'll be doing some of that. I'll probably do some lives like I used to. I used to do lives via the biofield viewer, and you could see the energy in real time. So, okay, there's just too many screens. I'm just going to have to focus on one. So if you're commenting in any of the other groups, I'll see it later, because so either come onto the Zoom or come onto Instagram or come onto Rhombus Healing Arts, because I can see that one on my phone. I can't monitor all of them at the same time right now. And I want to focus on why we are here. We're not here because of my birthday, although if it wasn't my birthday, we wouldn't be here, because I wouldn't be here, would I? Someone else would be here. All right. So now I've got, little Lily Worth. Hey, how you doing? Long time no see. I'm glad to see you. Wow, it's been how long? A year? Or maybe you've been watching, but I haven't seen you come on live. Anyway, so if you're on live, say hello. And even if I don't see it right now, I'll see it later, and you'll make me happy. That could be a beautiful birthday present to me, just to say g'day and that you're still around, and you know, and how you doing. And I'm so what I was saying before, which goes into this, is that when it is your birthday, not just my birthday, when it is your birthday, a human being's birthday, it is your journey around the sun, or the sun around however you see the planetary makeup, right? It's all relative. More of who you are, more of the soul comes into your physical body every birthday. So just feel that. Feel the magnificence of what I just said, whether you believe it or not, right? This is what I know. And I've actually been feeling it. And so if you're a sensitive, so today we're going to talk about sensitivities, hypersensitivity, subliminal stress, how your systems can manage shifts and changes in the world, in your physical, in your energy, in the field around you, right? So we're going to talk about that. But this is all part of it, because I'm a sensitive. And the reason why I teach and know what I know is because I had to negotiate that myself all my life. So this isn't something I've just come up with. It's what I've had to negotiate my whole life. I laugh because my family used to joke and say I was a hypochondriac when I was younger. I was a sensitive. I am a sensitive. I'm not only a sensitive, I'm highly sensitive person, which is that again. And layer on top of that, I'm an empath. Layer on top of that, I'm a kinesthetic. Right? So these are all feeling-based sensory systems. Right? They mean something in the way that your energy is made up. Now, you may be different. You may be similar. A lot of people drawn to me have similarities in their energies, and that's why they sort of see themselves, right? And they go, oh, she's talking about what I'm going through. Yeah, right? Similar energetics. Even if it's different, right? You can still learn and navigate through the information that I share, because there's multiple sensory styles, there's multiple rhythms in the energies, there's multiple elements, and so on and so forth. And depending on what ones are first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, right, in your system will depend on how you are in the world. And when you know that, so let me put it this way. When I found out more about how I'm put together energetically, there's aspects. I used to say it saved my life, because my life was so difficult. I'm bombarded with everything you could possibly imagine and can't possibly imagine, right? Unless you have the ability to see, feel, sense, know, taste, smell, touch, right? Those energies. It's a constant bombardment. Blessing and a curse, I used to say. Now I just say blessing. It's a blessing. Why? Because I'm not bombarded anymore. I have direction I am the director of my life. I am not directed by the field, how I used to be, right? So come back to birthday. Just so happens to be my birthday today and tomorrow, depending on what part of the world you're in. But my mum was given birth today in Australia, so I'm claiming today. So the 7th, when I was 7 in 1970, I saw a huge 7 in the sky. So 7 is, and to do with my name and all the rest of it, 7 is a significant number in my energetics as well. So as we move into our point or birth time, right, there's a build up of the energy where more of the light comes in. Who you are, it's like you're moving forward, right? You with me? Have you felt it? Do you feel it? Does it sort of make sense to you? You go, oh yeah, I've always felt that, or there's something about the build up to the birth. Now, some of you will get or have got sad building up to a birthday, or joyous building up to a birthday, right? Some of you might feel or try to work out, I feel joyous because I'm going to get, It's like in my birthday, I'm a little different. Thanks, Lily. So beautiful that you're here, Lily, because I just got to digress. So, so those on Zoom, just make a placement of where I was up to, because I'm not going to remember. But Lily, my grandmother, one of my grandmothers was Lillian. And my other grandmother, I learned, because she passed away 2 weeks ago, 98. 98, she was the matriarch of the family. She was the last of her lineage, and huge family, huge Irish, family. And she was the last of her lineage, like her generation to go. 98, she held. That's why she's the great matriarch in my life. She called herself Joan. We all knew her as Joan. I knew her as Nana or Nan. And it was only in my adult life that I found out her name was Mary, which was significant to me. And I'll tell you that story another day. But the name Mary, and how I'm drawn, like the blue, right? Those of you that know the blue, the great mother and all the rest of it. And then finding out, my grandmother, matriarch's name is Mary. But none of us knew. Obviously, my mum knew and all. But when we were going into the nursing home, right, because she was bedridden the last... completely magnificent mind, genius mind, right up until the end. I think it was like the last week in that last week she was transitioning. She's going in and out. Like, it was beautiful. Beautiful. Sadness for some of the people around, and I feel for my mum and some relatives around that, but beautiful for her and how she got to go and transition. But I found out her other name was Lillian. Lillian. So both my grandmothers were Lily. Now, I'm digressing because I do want to teach you something today, but maybe this is what we're supposed to talk about. But Lily, who's on here today, we used to converse a lot when I do the Facebook Lives back in the day, and like everybody used to show up, right? I haven't seen Lily for ages, and then she shows up today on my birthday. And she may have been watching, so it'll be interesting to see if she's still here, whether she has been watching sort of in the background or she's just come across me again. That would be interesting to me. It's neither here nor there, but it's sort of just how I see the world and am in the world, right? Now, Lily, see Rebel. Oh, I just mentioned Rebel and she popped off the Zoom. Lily is the original mother. right? There's Adam. Just came across me again, she says. There's no, what do you call it? You're meant to be here. Whether that's just to give me that message and to tell the story, right? It doesn't matter. It's whatever we make it mean, really. But I love that you're here because it brings me to this story of the original separation. The original female woman, feminine, it's not female, the original feminine was Lilith. And in some cultures, they don't like to say Lilith, they'll say Lily. Lily, right? I was given a message many, many years ago when my little dog, who I had 19 years, and so Rebel knows some of this story because she's had been caring for her beautiful fur family that, you know, when they get into older age. So there you go. We've got my grandmother going into older age and needing more and more care, right? More and more love, more and more care, just as much respect. Maybe more respect, right? The difficulties that she went through. But with my older animals, you know, and having to literally do everything for them. And in the end, even giving him water and stuff, and then like putting my head to his and saying, are you ready? Are you ready? Tell me when you're ready to go. And everybody around me, I kid you not, was one of the hardest times. It wasn't the hardest, but it was one of the hardest times because people were getting angry at me and abusing me, screaming at me. I would go to work because I had an outside job then. I was, you know, worked in an organization. I did trauma therapy, believe it or not, right? So I was able to navigate the abuse coming at me because I didn't put my dog down. I connected to two of my great friends that are both spiritual teachers, one male, one female. I put it to them, what do you feel about this? This is what I'm getting. And they both said something completely different. And one of them said what I was feeling, and he actually went through similar things with both of his dogs in older age. Now, there's something about compassion, what true compassion is. What true compassion is. All right, I think we're going somewhere else today. We'll see. True compassion. It's not what makes us feel better. People go into fear, right? Uncomfortability, if that's a word, the discomfort of seeing somebody else or another being in pain or feeling that they must have a limited life, therefore that life is not worth living. What if we put my grandmother down 10 years ago when she had trouble walking? And then when, you know, when her knees went and she couldn't walk at all, what? We put it down. Do you see what I'm saying? These creatures, these beings, they are more than their physical body. And I knew that. And that dog stayed with me. He never, so in transitioning, so just like, because I've transitioned a lot of animals and humans, right? And they move through my body. I feel them move. So we don't bury them until they have left the physical completely. And it can take some time, right? And often you don't feel them. So my grandmother, after she went, I didn't feel her for 5 days. Okay? With another grandfather on the other side, he never left me. But I cared for him. I was his carer at the end. I looked after him, you know, all the rest of it. So we had a different type of relationship, much like my little man, my little dog, right up till the end. And I held him, and he wasn't buried until I felt him move through my body, right? I built his spacecraft, right, to take him off to the cosmos. I painted it. I did all this ritual building up to him leaving, right? And my other animals too, even one of my llamas who is 25, 26, which is old for a llama, right? They all live to old age, but they got to go at some point. You got to let them go at some point. And I learned that with my grandfather, my dad's dad, because he would go and I would bring him back. I kid you not. I've told you that story. I would love him. I would go in there and I'd say, you know, I wouldn't even say anything. I'd just be rubbing his arms, just loving him. And he'd just come back, right? That happened. We've seen miracle after miracle. And this isn't about me. This is about the energy. Miracle after miracle. My dog Zar, my Great Dane, he couldn't walk in the end. His back legs didn't work, right? His back legs didn't work. He weighed more than me. So caring for him was a big deal. And I'm like, I don't know how we can do this. And I'd lay my hands on his hips. And I've shown you this. If you followed me, I've shown you this. I'm just saying the energy. You can do this. It's love. But when I placed my hands on his hips, he literally got up and started walking again. And some of you have seen this with the videos. He literally couldn't get up because he had growths around his back, hips and stuff. Right? When is time? When is it? Is it my decision, the vet's decision, somebody else's decision, the community's decision, or is it the sentient being's decision? Now this is going to probably trigger some of you. And if it does, make a note of that. Make a note of it. Make a note of it. And I know, Rebel, that I know you've just been through this. It's so hard to be with seeing your loved one, whether it's human or pet, suffer. You know? I had a guinea pig. I mean, this sounds ridiculous, but a sentient being is a sentient being to me. I've had fish that I felt sorry for, you know, and like, what do we do, right? One of my kids' guinea pigs, a dog got and bit it, and it was alive and trying to sort of walk and stuff, but it's like, oh my God. So, you know, putting a guinea pig down, it's like, it was still just as traumatic as a llama, which is bigger than my llama was big, huge, big as a big horse, right? And then having to bury that, do the ritual and all of that sort of stuff. Like my connection to death and dying is it's right there. It's like Lilith. This is why I'm telling you this, because Lilith came up today. Lily came in today. The shadow of the fear. The shadow of the fear. What is the fear? The feminine. The drop. The other aspect of the light. The other side. You following me? I think, you know, students will be following me, but those of you that are sort of coming in, you know, let me know, right? Let me know. The shadow of the fear. So back to the dog. The reason why I'm bringing up this particular little man is because when I was going through ritual with him, I painted a process called around the Sacred Heart. And I was writing on paper and I was gluing it onto the canvas. And in the end, I'll see if I can find an image of it. And I remember sitting on the floor, and he was on because he was only a little dog, and he was sitting on this big pillow, and I would carry him around on the pillow like a king, right? You know, everywhere I went, he went with me, right? I didn't go to work. I stayed home and I looked after, and another dog too, and I nearly lost my job with the second dog because I had no leave left, and they wouldn't let me take any more unpaid leave, right? So, you know, there was that sort of thing. They come first. Everybody else who has a fear of death, a fear of pain or suffering, right? when is enough enough? Is that for you? It's enough for you? It's your limit? You get where I'm going? What's your capacity for pain? I've been in pain all week. I don't know if I mentioned it. I mentioned it in class yesterday. We had class yesterday. I've been in pain all week. And even last night, actually, very this energetic movement. But it's like this energy coming in. Speaking of sensitivities, so we'll go into that in a minute, right? Just because you're in pain doesn't mean there's something wrong. Giving birth is pain. What are some of the things that are painful but beautiful? You know, oh, a massage. You know, sometimes it's like, you know, you think you're going to pass out. It hurts so much. So I was doing frogs in. I don't know if you know frogs in yoga, Kundalini yoga, right? I was doing frogs. I'd stopped for a while and I started doing them again the last couple of days, and my legs, you know, when you massage them, you feel like you're going to pass out, right? Do you see what I'm saying? This contraction and expansion, just because you're there, it's like saying, well, we only have this. That's like only breathing in. That's death. That's death. That's life. Do you understand? What conscious evolution is about, or what you know, unity consciousness is about, being able to navigate, be okay, be able to regulate when you are in pain or there is some suffering, so-called suffering, whatever that is for you, right? It'd be different for everybody. It'd be to do with your beliefs and conditioning patterns, but also your direct experience in the world. Is it a trauma for you? Is it a trigger for you? What is your attachment and your bonding, your attunement as a child? What are your early childhood experiences that imprinted certain ways of knowing? It's different. So it's interesting to me how I've been judged, criticized, verbally and physically abused for how I understand and see, feel, sense, know the world, right? And some of you may have been as well. You know, how you're treated because you can see or perceive, or you have cognition or whatnot, and people think you made it up, or you're nuts, or you're psychotic, you're having a psychosis, or whatever it is. Okay. And if they're around long enough, they'll see that it's like this morning I opened one of my little presents, because I like to keep everything. That's what I was saying before. Eric was saying, oh, do you want to, all week he's saying, do you want to open a present? And I'm like, no. And even when I was in Perth, I'd get like letters and parcels from family, because they all live a long way away. And I would keep them all, and I'd put them on the table, and I'd be like, no, it's not my birthday yet. No, it's not my birthday yet. And the kids would be saying, oh, just open that one. I'm like, no, it's not my birthday yet. And I would just, just keep it, because it's like, I like to wait, right? I won't have anything to open on my actual birthday if I did that. Anyway, so this morning I opened this little one. He bought me a tiny little speaker, because my computer is so old that the speaker doesn't work. And I was saying I was using somebody else's, and so anyway, he bought me this little one, and it's so cute. I really like it. And anyway, you can use it for your phone and stuff. Why was I saying that? Because, you know, waiting. All right, where are we going to go next? So sensitivities, pain, suffering. What are you experiencing? Let's get into the what I said I was going to talk about. Oh, okay. I was just reading your message. All right. So we're going to talk about sensitivities, and that is because, let me get my messages up. I had some messages, and I actually put together, so I could give a shout out for this. Let me just find Spirit Whisperers page. Because I asked a question. I asked what, okay, here it is. What are you experiencing that you'd like support around? What are you seeing in the world or your field you'd like clarity on, or what is intriguing you recently? Something around the conversations in the weekly lives that caught your ear. What is calling you right now? And there's a few things that came up, but one in particular was around, it says, I'm feeling caught in between the fact that EMFs at and around me in my workplace are impacting on my body and mind, that I am sensitive to who picks up on energies and notices. I would like to hear how you handle and or whether you feel them as well, but then what you do with that, right? And I answered a little bit there, but those of you that have done Evolver, we went basically all the energetics and protocols and stuff that we did in there, and we'll cover you on that. Subliminal Stressed Invisible Shadow was a workshop I did. The first time I did it was in 2017. In 2018, in 2019, I went around Australia teaching it, funnily enough, just before COVID. So 2020 was the last time that I taught it, and I traveled around Australia twice in that year, right? Visited all my family around Australia. Didn't see, it's like I get shown. It's like, get out there, see them all now. Now, in that time, that was the last time I saw my grandfather, because he died over COVID, and had his funeral via video, which was something, but tricky seeing loved ones and you can't hug them, right? That's what it is. Same with my grandmother. You know, seeing my mum, she was awesome. She did a talk and stuff. Yeah, she was awesome. But how do you deal with it? So subliminal stress, invisible shadow. Some of you might have seen it. I put the videos of that workshop on, it's called Vimeo On Demand, and it's like a subscription, but what you do, so you pay whatever it is, because there's a couple on there now, for the subscription, right? But you might only pay it once. If you only want to pay and get through as many as you can, do you understand? For the month. If you want to go another month, you pay another month. It's like on demand. It's like Netflix. You pay monthly, right? So that workshop, the core of it is, I think, 6 or 7 hours long, but there's, I think, 14 hours of content there, right? And it's the in-depth understanding of subliminal stress. So what is subliminal stress? It's the stressors, the things that impact you, energetic, physiologically, meant, you know, what creates stress in your body. You may not even know that's the subliminal. It's invisible. Do you know what's impacting you at this particular moment in time, right? What frequencies are around you? what smells, what, even insects like mosquitoes or ants or whatever, right? Whether it's hot, whether it's cold, how your body is regulating the environment that you're in. Whether it's the full moon, how many of you got blown off with the blue moon recently, right? I just kept seeing people talking about it. There's going to be something all the time. There's always going to be something. There is pretty much nowhere on the planet that you can go and not be touched by particular man-made frequencies, right? The invisible shadow, when I started teaching about this, was around, so when we send up satellites, right, they work in such a way, not to go deeply into it because, I'm not an expert on satellites and whatnot, but they work in such a way that they have to build what they were calling a shadow, almost like a field, so it can bounce information, is my non-technical way of explaining that, right? So originally it was looking at that, but then when the different technologies came in over those years, right, probably from 2015-ish, and I started to see how it was impacting and how the earth was shifting and changing even before that. But we've been preparing for that for my whole life, really. What we call the way showers are preparing people, right? In Kundalini Yoga, we talk about the Aquarian age, right? In different ways of knowing it, everything's saying the same. It is the end times. It is the end times. Kali Yuga time, meaning the chariot, the four-wheeled chariot, 3 of the wheels are stuck in the mud. There's only 1 wheel of time ticking away. So what's going to happen? Those sorts of things, right? They're metaphor, but every tradition will show you, tell you, try to inform you that we're in the end times, right? There's cycles. So depending on what one you look at, they're slightly different, but they're all around, right? What's going to happen in these end times? Mental health is going to increase. Depression. I've talked about cold depression. Cold depression is a little different to general depression, but there's going to be an influx, right, in these times. There's also going to be, a raise of consciousness, right? Because it's so sharing information on how to navigate these times, these energetics that we're in, this life that we're in, right? So the geomagnetics, what's happening planetary wise. It's not just, that person has an energy that I feel uncomfortable with, right? It's like that person's like the least of your problems, if you were to look at it that way. So why? It's not that I don't, how do I put this? It's not that I don't care. It's that I'm not afraid of it. I know that we have the capacity to navigate these energetics. Why? Because this is the magnificence of this vehicle and our energies and how we work. And when you know how we work, right? It's like this little speaker I got today, right? I'm like, well, how does that work, right? I had to read the instructions. Well, not really. It was only a few buttons, but but you get what I'm saying? Like you can muddle through. Most of us muddle through. There was no instruction book. When you were born or when you had your children, where did you get your information from? Think about it. Most of you from your parents or your in-laws or your sister, older, or you know, or your friends, right? Tell me, most of you got your, or you Googled it if you that, like, God, there wasn't even computers. Well, there was, but you couldn't Google. There was no Google. There was no, like, look up things. I was lucky enough, because I was so young, I was put into a mothercraft home, which is a place that they teach you how to parent, right? And I chose to go there. It wasn't like I was forced, although I had nowhere else to go, right? Where else was I going to go? So by the time I was in hospital for 2 weeks because I had nowhere to go, right? And then I was in 2 weeks in a mothercraft home. So I had nurses, I had experts, although, what we know now is far more, because they used to put your children into the nurseries, right? So they only bring them to you when you're going to feed them and all that sort of stuff. I used to go down the nursery all the time and just stand there and sort of look at it, and they'd say, what are you doing? I'm like, I couldn't understand why they did that. Because there's attachment and attunement. You need to bond with your child. There needs to be bonding, right? And if that's disrupted, it's called disrupted attachment. Disrupted attachment, promotes, not promotes, can bring in difficulties in your adulthood, in how you interact, your interpersonal relating, right? Based on your attachment and attunement, you're bonding with your primary caregiver, most of the time, your mother. But there does need to be some bonding with fathers as well. But your primary caregiver is, back then generally. Even if it's an adoptive parent or a foster parent, there needs to be attachment, attuning to the energetics. So when I worked with children, in foster care or that have been removed from their biological parents, what I noticed energetically is that when they're very young, whatever's happening with the mother, the child has very little contact with the mother. But I did, because I would work with so my job was to do the therapy for the child, the trauma therapy for the child, but also work with the original family to try to bring them back together, because the strongest place for a child is with the primary carers, right? If possible. It's not always possible, but where there's possibility, we work on that. And I would see, this is how I would see it. It's like, oh my goodness, this child's going through this and the mother's going through this. Why? Because there's an energetic connection still at a certain age. The mother and the child are still one, even though energetically, even though they're separated. Do you remember that class where I said, when you eat something, or my cup of tea here that's gone cold now. When does that become me and no longer it? Or when you eat a piece of lettuce or whatever you eat, apple, whatever, when does that apple stop being the apple and become you? Like, all of these questions, like, this is my mind from very young. I'm intrigued. Why did they call that? Why did they call a rubbish bin a bin? been drive people mad, right? How do I know what I know? Because I asked those questions my whole life. No one could answer me really, with any, you say they just fob you off. You're a kid, you're asking too many questions, whatever. So we'll go and find out, or I'll sit and I'll get my own answers, right? So when does a child, when it's been birthed through you, stop being you and become its own, right? This is human development. Human development is conscious evolution. When you overlay the energetics, you have the basics of human development, what a child does. I had to learn this, the ins and outs of this. I used to teach parenting for difficult behaviors. I know the ins and outs of child stuff, child development and all the rest of it. Back in the day, that's what I taught. Why? So that foster parents and adoptive parents would understand how to parent a child that's been removed from primary caregiver with attachment difficulties. Get me? It's going to be different. There are certain things they need to maybe do a little bit more here and a little less there. Don't expect the child to fall into how you raised your little boy or little girl, right? There is trauma. We behave how we are. The child, the human, the adult will show you how they feel. And they will make you feel how they feel, not on purpose. When you've got somebody in front of you, or even an animal, and you feel that in your body, go, oh, wow, they're going through a lot. Or, wow, they're really sad. Wow, they're really happy. Whatever. Wow, that person's really joyful, right? The behavior is the language. I spent 20-something years teaching. Behavior is language. Yeah. So there's that. So I was just reading a comment about, how people are feeling. There's different, like itchy, shaky, those sorts of things. There's buzzy and all the rest of it. I always teach people in every class, pretty much every class I've taught in the last probably 5 years, close your eyes. How are you today? Meaning, drop in, feel your physical body. Just do a check-in. How are my toes? How's my left side to my right side to my left side? How is it like? Do I feel anything? What do my feet feel like? Can I feel the soles of my feet on the floor? Can I feel, or if I've got no shoes on, I'm not a shoe wearer, unless I go out there, right? Or how your shoes fit you, where they actually might pinch or restrict or feel, whatever they feel. Like, how do you feel? Like when we're going through our day, our brain for survival will purely just give us, are we living or dying type thing. So when you stop and you check in, you go, oh wow, I didn't notice that before. Or I've got this sensation that when I stop and I feel into it, it's like almost like there's this beauty or the love that's coming through the heart. Like it doesn't have to be, it's not good or bad. It's what are you feeling? What are you sensing? What are you knowing in this physical incarnation? Every now and then, stop, drop in, listen with your sensory system. Do you feel it? Do you see it? Do you taste it? Do you know it? Do you hear it? Can you feel right? How are you today? Check in, right? Do your inventory of this vessel that you drive, you direct, you guide, you are, right? So we drop in, we feel, we sense, we know, okay, whatever, I just closed my eyes and my eyes feel, there's a sensation in particularly this eye. I'm like, okay, I'm not putting, what do you call it? I'm not layering any other data on it. It's just a contact. So in sensory motor psychotherapy, it's like, so for trauma work, it's like you're contacting. That's all you're doing. You're like, there's a sensation there. There's a sensation there. Oh, okay, there's something going on there. Okay, I feel, I sense, I know. Okay, I'm feeling my my stomach. Okay, I'm feeling my eye. I can feel the wind, the cool wind of the fan on my face. That's, yeah. I want to keep that going, right? What am I uncomfortable with? Okay, why am I uncomfortable with that? What's the information, the data that sense, that experience is possibly giving me? Don't layer it, just listen. And then speak to it. I acknowledge you. Okay, left eye. I feel you. Is there something you need me to know? Do you need a little love today? Do you need to be off screens today? Whatever. I mean, you don't want to layer. I just layered a little bit on there. You saw that, right? It's very easy to do. We do it as humans. If we just sit with it and allow it to be, acknowledge it. It's like seeing, so in working with children that are very dysregulated, right? It's not about helping them conform to a certain way of behaving, right? It's almost, what's it called? It almost goes against what you think you should do, much like the dogs, and the animals and whatnot. Counterintuitive parenting. Counterintuitive interactions. Often what you think you should do to help somebody regulate is often the opposite, right? So when a child is kicking up a stink, in whatever way that might be, right, won't settle or something like that, doing something opposite. Like there were times when, because I used to go into homes and assist with really dysregulated children, because that was part of my job. It was whenever I was needed, if you teach how to when they're calm, but occasionally maybe the primary caregiver misses the behavior signal or the build up, and the child goes from 0 to 100. But there's always a lead up when you know what to look for. There is always indications that that child or that human is finding it difficult to regulate, right? You'll see it in their body. You'll see it in their movement, their action, their speech. You'll hear it, right? You just got to learn how to see it. Micro movements, and when you know them, it's like there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. And I would say, okay, here's little Johnny or little Jane, and I'd say to the parents, so notice when little Johnny is speaking that his eye twitches. Like just under here, there'll be a tiny little twitch. When you see that twitch, do this or do that, try this or try that, right? So the child isn't escalated yet, but there's a micro movement in the face or the body that is an indication that the nervous system is struggling, that there needs to be something come in to assist, right? So if you can catch it, and it might be often, so you could do this for yourselves, right? When you're talking to somebody and they're smiling and talking to you like this, and then all of a sudden their face drops. It's like the muscle drops. It gets. Have you seen that in people? You'll often see it in shock, if someone's been shocked, or even the tensity of your skin in yourself. Like some days you'll look in the mirror and you go, oh wow, my skin looks like I look old today, right? For instance, you might, you feel like your skin is dropped, right? That's a micro movement. The muscle, the texture, the color of the skin. I'll be talking to somebody. So this is in a little insight into some therapy, right? So I'll be talking to somebody, and I'll just say, so tell me why you're here, or what? Yeah, just one little question, and they start to tell me. It might be 3 words in, and I'll say, let's just stop there, because I'll notice in their face or in their body a shift. Such a micro movement that no one else would notice it. This is what I'm saying. When you understand the nervous system, how it works, and how it then shifts your physiology, if you keep leaving it, it becomes bigger. It becomes behavior. It becomes words. It becomes actions. Right? You with me? Is this interesting or not? I've never taught this, because it's like I've never shared this, and this isn't necessarily what we're going to talk about, but it seems that's what we're doing today. Yeah. So feeling somebody, holding their hand or touching them, feeling their sadness or feeling their whatever's going on for them. I said, actually, it was yesterday. I was saying sometimes when I touch somebody, it was actually yesterday that it happened. That's why I was telling the story. So I was just in my general bliss, my own Cynthia bliss, and I touched somebody, and I just got it's like a million photographs at once. So much information. And then I took my hand off, and I was like, oh, and I just went back to my bliss. And then I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I did it 3 times, like, because my curious mind is like, okay, that's a different, a slightly different, because I get information like that for myself, but I turn it off. Oh, I don't turn it off. I direct when I want it and when I don't. So those of you that did intuitive studies or trance with me, we went into a little bit of that. Like as you open up, as you raise in your frequency, in your light frequency, in your consciousness, you can receive more. And how your physical, your humanness can manage the amount of data and information and input. This is what it is all. If you can remember that what you're feeling is information. It's just information. It's neither good or bad. It's purely information. Now, that's not to disregard the challenges that some of you may be facing or may have faced. Because let me just plug this phone in. Because I know it directly. I would sit next to people and feel like I was going to throw up or pass out, not even touching them. I would just sit near them, especially because I've traveled a lot, right? I remember, I've told this story before, but I remember in France, I was with a group who were painting. It was anyway, and it was a big long table and like benches, and I think I don't know how it happened, but there was where I was sitting, I sort of had to squash in to the bench, and I was sitting near a man. It was a lady I know's husband. And so I knew nothing about him, and you know, I sat down and I was like, whoa, you know. I knew the woman next to me, and I was just sitting with it. Now, it's none of my goddamn business what's going on for him. Do you understand? I wasn't going to go in and say, oh, what's going on here? Why am I feeling it? It's none of my business. Yes, he's touched in, but he doesn't understand that his energy, probably, right? Most of you, I don't know, do you know that when you walk in a room, your energy impacts everybody in the room? It's your responsibility to look after your own energy. It goes off, and those of you that are sensitive, probably your aura goes way off. My aura is probably touching the neighbors, right? It's our responsibility to look after our energy. If you don't know how, ask. Subliminal stress, invisible shadow. I'll put a link. How can I do that? It'll probably have to be after. But that's that whole workshop, and it goes into the theory, the science. It goes into the protocols or the energy systems, the points, what they mean, how to do it with me, right? Now, any of my classes that you do, and I don't have many that are on demand. I have 2 at the moment. But that one and another one I'll tell you about another day. But that one, any of them that you do, you can come and ask questions. We do these lives all the time. If you do a class and you have an experience, right, write it down, come here live, ask me about it, tell me about it, or email me or message me. This is why in the past I haven't done everything that I do is live because of the interaction. But I can't do all of my classes live anymore because there's so many. I just can't, right? And they become really expensive then. So putting out on demand, meaning you stream as much as you want in that particular time, right? Watch it over and over and over or whatever. There's a lot of hours there. It's a lot of information, right? Then come and ask me about it. Say, look, I did video 1. You were talking about this, and this was my experience, like blah blah blah. And I'll say, I'll give you more information, or I'll say, watch video 2. It's all in there, or whatever. So just because they're on demand, meaning you can stream them, doesn't mean you don't have access to me. That is always my primary, when people put out videos, that's why I like doing live, because how you in particular are impacted by the energy will be different to you and to you and to you and to you, right? Slight differences. And we can, slightly navigate that, slightly shift and change. But those videos have so much information and so much feedback from the participants, their questions, and how I've answered their questions and gone even deeper, because I go deep when people ask questions, right? So those videos are there. I didn't come on to sell those, right? But it's come up. So I've just like, well, if you want in-depth, I can only tell you so much in these lives, right? But if you want the in-depth and the how-to, there's some on-demand there. So anyway, I'll put the link in. But why was I saying that? Why was I saying that, Mercedes? I don't know. Oh, holding some, like how you're taking responsibility for your own energies. That's what it was. Yeah. Not only right how you impact others, but how you can have a very strong field so that other people's energies and invisible shadow or subliminal stress isn't seeping through your infiltration system or your filtration system, right? the energies around you and how they are to work. Because when our energies are compromised, just like when our nervous system regulation is compromised, behaviors happen, things happen, right? So let me just check here. I haven't been checking for, I can see some messages here. I can't quite read that one. Why can't I read that? Oh, close that. All right, so I'm going to move the restream out of the way for a bit. I'm going to move that out of the way for a bit. Let me just get some of these out of the way. And we're going to go through, I'll just give you a couple, some of you that are watching. Okay, I don't know who is here, but, you know, going over energetics is something you can do the rest of your life. It's not like so I made up a foot. I really need to, well, probably I don't teach this enough anymore, but when I did teach, I had I think it was a red foot back then. So any of you, have you had shock? Something happened that's thrown you off your, what are some of the sayings we say when you get thrown off what? Thrown off kilter? What's a word? I don't know. You just get thrown off, whatever you're on. It's almost, actually, it's more like a gyroscope, right? Where it's more like a balancing act or a surfboard, like, right? You're thrown off your board, right? So the balancing act of riding the waves of life. And so when something comes, and it comes from the side or the top, or or it comes so fast you can't even see it, there's shock, right? Shock. How the body deals with shock, right? So there are energies, and I want to show you the shock points, but give you a little bit of that. And I can draw you a picture if need be. So if you need to go there, I'll leave the video up. But how we can heal shock. So even if somebody's been in a small car accident, like a bingle we would call it, like a little car accident, right? Or you go to cross the road and you nearly get hit by a car, but you don't. It's like, right? Anything that makes you sort of go, you know, there's like this big, it's almost like this breath in and there's no breath out. Right? There's lots of different ways too. I'm just giving you a layman's terms of, right? Or you hear news. I can remember driving to our little red cabin the other day and getting a message from a friend that her husband had passed, and I went, oh! Right? Steady. Where am I on my gyroscope? Right? Navigated that and then went, okay, steps to take. And I just took the steps, how to support her. Right? We have secondary and tertiary trauma. Primary, secondary, tertiary trauma. Secondary and tertiary is where you hear about horrific things. In social work and psychology and all these sorts of professions, it's very common, secondary and tertiary trauma. We get traumatized if we don't look after our own energetics, by hearing other people's stories or being with extremely traumatized humans day in and day out, because we're in their pain. If you're an empath, I have burnt out nearly, not completely, 3 times in social work. Why? Because I was working with the most oppressed humans on the planet at one point. And I would go and I would sit with them, and they were broken, like literally. Sometimes they would be like bloodied, and I don't want to secondary traumatize you, right? But it's going into the stories. But what I walked into was like a war zone, but it was in suburbia, right? The homeless population and or the elderly, and how they would, what would happen to them, because it would be payday. And so the young ones, they do run-throughs, meaning they smash the door open, they grab all the stuff, and they leave the elderly person just on the ground in pieces, right? That's what I would walk into, that sort of stuff, right? And I would sit with them, and they would be shattered. Some of them, have lost everything. Children, the worst case scenario, think of that, and that's what it was. Suicides and all sorts of stuff that they're dealing with. And I sit beside them, and they're just broken. And what would happen is it'd be like this transference. And they would walk away smiling, happy, almost with a bounce in their step. And I would be sitting there with all of that. And it was years that I didn't know what to do with all of that. Because you would go for supervision, all these ways of processing, they didn't work. They didn't work. I'm highly sensitive. I just sit near you, and it's like a transference, right? The beauty of it is that they would walk away feeling light, at ease, ready to go another day. But I would have that. And then I'd go to the next person, it would happen again. Then the next person would happen again. And I saw The Green Mile, the movie The Green Mile, once. Well, I've seen it a few times now, but when I first saw The Green Mile, have any of you seen it? When the big guy, he was doing that. And then he'd go, and all the little black bits would go. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen it? Go and see it. You'll know, like, as soon as you see that, you'll go, I know what she means. Especially those of you who are sensitive. There needs to be a release of it, or a processing of it. It just sat with me. And so over time, it built and built and built. And obviously there's natural processes that happen, and all the rest of it. And then we get to a point where I just didn't want to go to work. I'd be tired, or whatever would happen. And then I would take steps and do something else or whatever. So that went on for a few years. And then I realized, when I sit with them and they walk away, do you see what I mean? I started to go, I didn't have anybody to teach me. I didn't have anybody, nobody knew like that. It was like, go and talk to your supervisor. And then I became a supervisor. And this is where I saw it. The students and the other social workers and psychologists and whatnot, and they're telling me this and how they're dealing with it. And I'm like, and I brought in energy, energetic ways of shifting that energy, ways of strengthening, so that you can still support, but you're not put off, you're not traumatized by what you're hearing or seeing or sensing or knowing, right? So shock, all of these, just hearing a story can shock you. Now, shock absorption in the body is related to a particular bone in the heel, the calcaneus bone. I think that's how you pronounce it, calcaneus bone. Okay, it looks like, I'm going to draw, oh, do I have it? Draw a little picture. This might be a long one today, so if you need to go, it's fine. I don't know. What do I got to do today? What day is it? Wednesday. I could just stay on all day. I'll just have a birthday teaching, right? Why? Oh, I've got to finish this. Why? Because when you're bringing in the light, I know if you stay with me long enough, you get the whole story. When you bring in the light on your birthday, more of who you are, and when you give a blessing, it's exponentially powerful. So I'm giving to you today, right? Because it's my birthday. When you give on your birthday, when you like give your time, your love, your blessings, your grace, whatever, it's exponentially more. So on my birthday every year, I will share, I will give blessings, I will write to you, right? So this is the sharing and sitting in my power for all of you that are watching. All right, so calcaneus bone. Let me see if I can draw it. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. No, on Instagram and on here. All right, so it's this bone. And there's like shock absorbers, right? Well, I guess you could call it, hang on, you could call it that bone. Hang on. It's like a cookie. Let me rub it out and do it again. Right? It's just like, just say you've got that bone, that bit, and that bone. All right, let me do it big. That bone, that bit, that bone. All right. So we're doing it big. This bit is the shock absorber, right? This bit in the middle is the shock absorber. This is bone, and this is bone. Right? In your foot. So just put your feet on the ground, just like you're marching, hitting your heels. Can you hear mine? Stamping. Just stamp your heels on the ground. Okay? You can, and get your kids to do this if you know you feel they need a little bit of what would you call it? Absorption. Right? If you're a teacher, just get them to do that. This is my foot. On the center of the heel, right? So here's my foot, here's my heel. On the center point of the heel, there are numerous points, but the main one in the center is the main shock point. Why is this important? Anyone know? Why is this shock absorber in the calcaneus or the calcaneus bone, why is that important? Because it's governed by spleen meridian energy. Why is that important? Anyone know? Anyone know? Because the spleen is the largest magnet or the biggest magnet in your body that governs blood. What's in blood? Iron. Iron. got my little magnets here. We'll do a little bit of that. But the shock point, when we get shocked, we can't dispel the shock, and it can cause irregularities in the blood. So the change on the cell wall and blood, like in, I'll tell you about that in a minute, changes, there's changes, right? And they're opposing. So, meaning when there's, I can't get my magnets apart. There you go. Gee, that was a hard, right? When it's opposite, you can't get them apart, right? You can't get the magnets apart. When it's the same, it repels. Well, see, I just threw that magnet off onto the floor. Okay? So north-north or south-south repel. But north-south or south-north. So when that cell wall, so if there's a shift or change in that cell wall and it's no longer has the polarity, we can get things like diabetes. Diabetes can't get glucose or nutrients into the cell. The polarity's gone. There's a shift. And that's just one. So same repels, opposite attracts. We've heard that with dating and all that sort of stuff, right? Opposites attract. Why is it important for you? It's got to do with, like, the science of it. There's, you know, the neutron, or the nucleus is neutral and the proton, blah, 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 right? So if you want to know into that, subliminal stress, invisible shadow, right? But when something goes irregular, meaning the polarity is shifted, so it's either repelling when it needs to attract, or it's attracting when it needs to be repelling. Think of your field, your filtration. What do you want to attract? And what do you want to repel? If that shifts, oh, you're up that creek. You know the one? You're up Shift Creek. That's what you're up, Shift Creek. You may want to go there for a holiday, but I don't think any of you want to live there. Or maybe you could, maybe you do. You know, who am I to say? So we start to repel, and then we can't disperse waste into the earth. Why is that important? Our conducting pathways. So again, this is a big teaching, right? It's hours and hours and hours of teaching, but I'm giving you in a nutshell. You know where to go if you want to know more, right? On our feet, we have earthing aspects. Most of you know the bottom of the feet, right? Where you can take a stainless steel spoon. You all know this by now, but if you don't, we're going through it. Stainless steel. How do you know if it's stainless steel? A magnet will attract to it. If it doesn't, do not use it. It will not work. This, I have this little scooper. Oh, it's stainless steel. I use this. I love the feel of this. It doesn't need to be a spoon. It doesn't need to be a spoon. It could be a fork. It could be a little container like this. But if you've got a fridge magnet or something like that, just test. A lot, what I found in America, funnily enough, majority of your cutlery isn't stainless steel. Now, silverware does not work either. It can't be silver or these other new, right? But if it can be other metals, but it needs to be have that polarity, right? Yeah. And so what you do, I'll use this so you can see it. That's my foot. That's the sole of my foot, and you rub. You rub the sole of the foot. And if it's sticky, keep going. It's not sweaty feet. People will say, oh, I'm sorry, my feet are sweaty when they would come see me in clinic time, right? I'm doing their polarities. I'm doing all this stuff for them. And I say, oh, my feet are sweaty. No, this one's smooth. This one is sticky. Why? Irregular energy in this foot. So we correct the irregular energy in that foot, right? Spooning the feet, you connect to wherever the poles of the earth are. So bear with me. If I'm too fast, you can go back and watch the recording. The pole of the earth is doing this, right? Or this, or this, like the pole. So if this is north and this is south, or vice versa, and the earth is doing this. I'm going to draw you a picture in a minute, right? Because this is really important. If you can get this, you'll get all the rest of it. Now, you've heard, or maybe people don't talk about it so much because it's sort of old school now, but it's still happening. The shifting of the poles of the earth and where Mother wants to go. Now, so this is the earth. And just say this is north and this is south. Opposites. So when we're walking on the earth, we're connecting like this. We are in unity, right? We are walking in unity. What? Oh, yeah, we're together. Okay? When you're shocked or stressed, and you may not even know you're stressed because it's subliminal. It's happening without your full awareness. That's why it's subliminal stress. That's why we need to know how to navigate our energies. This is energy medicine first aid. This is stuff that you could be doing every day or every week at least. But if you have any inflammation in your body at all, please do your spooning. But let me just finish this little thing, right? So you're walking along and you shift because something's happened over there. Maybe there's fires and you had to be evacuated, and then there's a shock, or hearing about all the people that die, or whatever it is that's happening around the world, and you feel it in your body. That's shock. It's going to shift the polarity, and then you're repelled from the earth. It's like you're floating on the earth. Now, that might seem like fun for some. What it means is, so many things. But in a nutshell, let me see which one I want to go to. So when we're not connected to the earth in the polarized, the opposite ways, it means, I might draw a picture for this, but I think it'll be easier to show you. Anyway, all of this is in the workshop, right? I go right into it. I draw lots of pictures. It's on a proper whiteboard. I'm not doing this like little thing. Maybe I'll do it in black. So what's happening is you're having to navigate. Let's move this Instagram one so you can see too. So we have the earth, and then we have us. All right. Oh, sorry, it's a bit shiny, but it's the windows. Can you see it? All right. So when, I need other colors. When there's a disconnect here, it means that our field is the electrics of our system. So human beings have an electrical system. It's another one of the energy systems. It's an electrical system, right? That electrical system, so some of you might feel buzzing sometimes, like if ever you feel like your energy is buzzing, it's one indication. It's not always this, but it's one indication that you know, you have adrenal stress in some way because your nervous system is electrified. Why? Because, I mean, there's numerous other reasons for this, but I'm just teaching you this one for today. That you've only got your electrified system here at the moment, right? Because you're not able to connect to the earth and be healed as the earth. Did you get that? When you're earthed and you don't have irregularities in those points of the feet, right? When you have connected with the shock points, right? So I'll show you the shock points again in a minute. You can connect to the earth's field and utilize her field to heal you. When you're disconnected because the polarity has shifted and you're repelling, so it's like you're floating above the earth's energetics, there's like this tiny electric charge around your field. And those of you that are sensitive will feel it. It feels like a buzzing, right? If you lay down and just tune in to your body, you may feel it's like this. Now, it could be other parts of the electrical system, but often it's as simple as connecting to doing your polarities of your feet, right? So if the soles of your feet, here's our foot. If the soles of our feet have irregularities in them in some way, we are repelled. So you all got that? The why, right? Now I'm going to, there's a few ways I can go here because it's a huge teaching, but it's so paramount to human health and wellness. You can even do your pets. I used to do my dog's feet. Oh wait, that's why they live so long. But anyway, so spooning the feet is a simple one. Now going back to the shock points are at that center. Now you can take, I've got selenite here. Often, if, for instance, I haven't done this for a while, so it's a good remembrance for me, or reminder for me to, you know, even when I'm sitting at the computer, I just put this on the floor and I just place my heel on it and I just press gently and release gently. It's like a squeezing, right? So just pretend that is my sole of my foot. You can use whatever you got, really. I mean, I've got this this crystal. I could use that. I could press in, so like squeezing in and release, and just do that a few times on those points. Let me draw where the points are on here. Okay, so there's my foot. And this shock point, well, let me see if I can do it, is right. You see? So just feel on that, even on the ground without any anything to press on. You could use a ball, a squash ball, a tennis ball, an upside down spoon you can put on the floor and just press your feet into it. I can remember when, so when you hurt yourself bad enough, there's something called neurological stress. Neurological stress is like you'll black out, right? So I cut my hand open one time. Anyway, it's a long story, but my daughter was upstairs. My youngest daughter was upstairs, and I knew that because I've got a really high pain threshold, right? So when I hurt myself, my body will, you know, if it's too much, it would just take me out, because it's like so much. Anyway, it was a bit, it cut to the bone. Anyway, so I went up, and I knew that I was going to go because I felt it. It came down on my hand, it cut my hand, and I just felt it, and I could feel basically my eyesight going. So I knew I had to get upstairs to get Tara to help me with the shock and the energetics of that. So I went up. By the time I got up the stairs, I couldn't see. So I was walking around, and I yelled out to her. I said, Tara, I need your help. I said, and I just directed her. I said, get 2 spoons out of the drawer, put them on the floor. I'm going to sit here, put them under the soles of my feet. And I was able to put my soles of my heels, right, onto and just press. And then I said, if I pass out, poor girl. But I did give her a warning as I was coming up. I said, you know, blah, 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 blah. I was like, I'm very good in crisis. Like, I'm ex-military, all the rest of it. So, you know, I know what to do, and I can direct really quickly, believe it or not. So I'm saying, okay, do this. And now I want you to hook me up, so, which is, so I'm holding the blood because it's, you know, I don't want to bleed out or anything. But I needed to get my energies on, otherwise I'm going to pass out, and she's not going to know what to do. Do you know what I mean? So those shock points, because I was in shock, there was a lot of blood, right? It hurt like anything. And I couldn't see because I was going, right? And I got up there, put my feet on the spoons, started to press on them, and then I said, hook me up. The hook up is the middle finger, 2 middle fingers, I'm not giving you the finger, 2 middle fingers, one in the center and pull up, and the other one in your belly button and push in and pull up and hold. If you're ever in a situation where you're not coping, just hook up. Just hook up, stand there and hook up, or lay there and hook up. Story after story after story, people having fits, all sorts of things. I brought my mum out of a heart attack. I did this, but I bit her pinkies first because they're linked to the heart energy. Right? I did triple warmer, and I hooked her up. I think that's all I did. Right? Brought her out of it. Now, I'm not a doctor, and so always go to emergency or the doctors. You could do this on your way to emergency. When I had a car accident, I had a 3-car pileup. I was in the middle. It was not my fault. The person came in front of me, and then I slammed the brake, you know, hit them, and then the people coming behind, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and I hurt my back. And I got into the ambulance, and I had my selenite. I had a baby one. This is a big one, but I had a little piece of selenite. I carry it around with me. I had my spoon, and I had a magnet. That's my first aid kit. I put the piece of selenite in my shoe, on my heel, and I was just gently pushing as I was sitting in the ambulance, and they're saying, do you need pain relief, blah, blah, blah. And I told them what I was doing. They were fascinated. I put the magnet on the north side. So north pulls, south grows. Please don't do magnet therapy if you don't know what you're doing, because if you put the wrong side on, it can grow what you want to get rid of. So anyway, I'm just telling you as an example. I put the magnet in my sort of pants where my back was hurting. I had my selenite going, and I went to the hospital, and they told me, they kept me there because it was a high speed thing. I don't know, for trauma, they've got to keep you there. And then I was released, and the doctors said, there was 2 doctors, and they came up to me and they said, you're going to need pain relief. And I said, no, I won't. I still have to laugh now, but I said, no, matter of factly, I said, no, I won't. And they said, oh, no, you will, and it'll get worse in the next 2 days. I said, no, I'm good. And I went home. I laid on the earth the next day. Some of you will remember this story, right? Because I documented it on lives. I was laying on the earth outside, right? I was doing my shock points. I used the selenite, I used the magnet, but I used the earth. I used the earth's field. So I made sure my shock points were done. My irregularities in my feet were done, and I'll get into those in a moment, so that I could utilize the field of the mother, of the earth, to heal myself. Right? But this is what's happening for you as you walk, if you're connected. Do you see how important that is? That's why I went around Australia numerous times. I did this program over and over and over and over. And like, people just weren't getting it because I was before my time. It was before my time, right? So I've told you about the shock points. And there's a whole protocol that a practitioner will do that's much more than this. But these are first aid. So if you're a practitioner and you're like, no, right? I get it. It's not the full protocol. We're taking pieces of the protocol that people can use as first aid to just be able to get to safety, or to get to extra help, or to get, right? First aid. It's first aid. And then go and get therapy, or go and get a whole protocol, or go and get whatever it is. I laid on that earth and I had no pain. I said to the doctors, no, I won't. I went and I utilized my body and the energy of the earth, and I healed myself. And I took photos. I'll see if I can find them. I took photos. I was doing lives because I just used to do that. I was laying on the ground and I was photographing my field because I could see the blue around my I could see my energy. And I was like, I wonder if other people could see it if I took a photo. So I started taking photos, and some people could see it. So I'll make a note. I'll see if I can find them again. And they were the times when I was doing that there was this extra sort of field, and it was blue. Those of you that are learning about the blue. All right. Now, the other piece that I'll teach you before we go, because obviously I can't go into all of it, and there's so much more to it, but I just want you to have something, right? There's people asking me, well, I'm so sensitive, what do I do? Well, ultimately, this is for shock, but if your energies aren't, you might have had a shock 10 years ago and your energy's been out all that time, and you've got so much inflammation in your system, and it's come into different health issues, or even, psychological issues or whatnot, right? You can get back into your health and wellness. You can. It may be, a step at a time. Like, do this for a few days or a few weeks. It's pretty, I've seen phenomenal things. I can't tell you all of it, but some people, and some of that have done the challenges with me, we go through some of this stuff and it's instantly their back pain's gone. Instantly their inflammation feels better. Instantly, I'm telling you. You can't just believe it. Just try it. Just try it. Or try it on a loved one, right? And just see what happens if you get something stainless steel and you rub it on. You can do it on any part of the body. You do it on the spine, but we're talking about this connection to the earth. This stainless steel to the bottoms of the feet helps where the polarity of the earth is. She's doing this sometimes more than others. So how are you going to dance with something that's doing this? You have to do this too, right? So when you spoon your feet, it takes you to wherever she is, so you can do that. You can come in. And then your field is unified. right? You can utilize the field of the earth. But when you're doing your own individual thing and you're space traveling on the earth, you're just hovercrafting, right? A lot of you are hovercrafting. Yeah? So that's that, right? So spooning the feet, that's for that. So you've got number one, the shock points. If you don't think you've got shock, great. But most of you have, because it'll be probably old shock. You might have a new shock. There's different ways to do it for different shock, but just that little bit of first aid, you may feel a release. You may feel emotions come up because it's stored. It's stored. That bone is not the calcaneus bone, right? It's got to have this shock, this absorption, but sometimes it stops absorbing. It's like you just bone on bone, not literally, right? Spleen meridian is an aspect of our stress response, right? We've got triple warmer. So if you want to know the ins and outs of this, the subliminal stress, invisible shadow is all about triple warmer, all about spleen, all about the illnesses and how to correct it, and like it's a whole program, right? So triple warmer is the masculine or the yang aspect or arm of the nervous system, the energetic nervous system. It first pulls from spleen meridian when you're in stress, when you're in shock, when stuff's not going how you want. Your body will go into a stress response, whether you're aware of it or not, hence subliminal stress. It's happening and you probably have no idea until the symptoms start, and then you're already in it. You're already in it. Do you understand? I'm giving you preventatives. I'm also giving you we used to, in social work, would say, there's preventative work and there's the ambulance chaser, right? It's like, so you want both, because there's going to be, okay, preventative. It's like Chinese medicine, which is a lot of stuff that I teach is ancient Chinese medicine, not traditional Chinese medicine. It's before that, because things changed, right? But that's another story too. You paid your practitioner while you were well. You paid your practitioner while you're well. If you got unwell, no payment. They do the work, but you pay. See, it's a whole nother system. It's preventative. It's humming along. It's like getting regular alignments, regular maintenance, right? I was back in the day, I would get alignments every month for this reason. And now I just do it myself, but but even though I could do them myself back then, that was my gift to myself, right? These high energy alignments every month. If something else happened, like a death, I remember, a young girl riding off my car. I loved that car. Or stuff with children or whatever, like shock, trauma. I would go more regularly, right? However, it's this. It's not about taking a tablet when you're unwell. It's about staying well. And in the odd occasion that something more than your nervous system can handle, right? A natural disaster, or it just comes. It might even be a natural. Like, I've been in numerous natural disasters recently. I've had a few people die in the last 2 weeks. And I'm trying to get home. Well, this is home, but trying to get back to Australia. I don't have a visa yet. I can't leave the country. My niece is getting married early because my brother's got terminal brain cancer. Like, I'm being hit like nothing else. Like, it's boom, 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 boom. And how do I manage? I align myself. That keeps me able to go this. I feel it. and I ride the wave. I look at what's going on. I go, okay, that hits. Oh, you know, I want to get back to see all the family. I wasn't able to go back for the funeral, for the last 4 funerals. 4 funerals. We've lost a lot of people, right? How do we manage? Keep yourself regulated. Keep yourself balanced and aligned, right? How do you do that? These are some of the ways that you can start to do the energy first aid. If you've got something more chronic, connect with me, right? I've got, I actually haven't done any lives or talked about this, but I do have alignments for people on benefits. If you're on a benefit and you can't afford it, you know, there's lower prices. It still might be a stretch for you, but ask me about it. My point being, how do you regulate? How do you do that? So we're getting our spleen energy, which is our way of metabolizing our world, not just what we eat. There's metabolizing of what you digest, but there's also how you metabolize your environment. That is to do with the spleen meridian energies. So when that's taken to fuel your stress response, it starts depleting you of that, you know, so the spleen is that biggest magnet in the body because it's, you know, governs blood and ions in the blood, right? Which can, I mean, and lots of other things, but this, how you can metabolize your world, how you can metabolize what's going on in the world. Stuff's going to happen. Shifts going to happen, right? It's going to happen. This is life. Polarity is our life. But whether you're opposite or the same for the earth will determine inflammation. Inflammation is a huge percentage of illness and disease. So if you're dealing with some sort of inflammation, some sort of illness, disease, there's going to be inflammation. So just adding this to what you do will help. Spoon your feet. Now the next bit is like, don't forget this, whether you need it or not. So if you came to see me, I would test it, or even on these lives, if you're saying like, oh, okay, I don't know what's going on with my energies, I can just test it on the lives. I used to do it all the time. All of it was done just on a Facebook Live. But so your hand is like your magnet. You don't need a magnet. Use your hand. It's like the different sides of the magnet, right? Take your hand, and on the kidney 1 point, so let me do another diagram for kidney 1. So just under the ball of the foot, whoa. I'm going to have to be right-handed for a bit. Just under the ball of the foot is kidney 1, the first point on the kidney meridian, right? So let's pull this together a little bit more and then we'll wrap up because it's 11:30. And I could keep going, but I'm just thinking you might need to go to bed. I'm having fun. I love this. This is what I live for, right? So kidney 1. So just say that's my foot. And just under the ball, you know, the bone, the ball of the foot is kidney 1. You don't need to know exactly where it is. But if that energy, that meridian point, that energy point is irregular, so what does irregular mean? The polarity is out in some way, or there's 3 types of irregularities. So I'm not going to go into them in the class I do, but today we're just going to go on. If it's flipped, right? If it's flipped, meaning, so we talked about when the earth is flipped, but what if your point is flipped and irregular, and instead of pulling energy in, it's pushing it out, or vice versa? Or if it's frozen, it's not doing any. There's nothing going in and nothing going out. So that's the second type. So there's a flip in the meridian, a frozen energy, or a submerged energy. They're the three irregularities. You don't necessarily need to know that unless you're a practitioner. But it's impacting the flow of the energy, right? So that alone, kidney energy is life force energy. It's your essence. Oh, I do have a class. I'll tell you that another day. I have another class that goes through all the essence and all this stuff. But anyway, so your essence, your life force energy. So if you're tired, right, we usually go straight to what's going on with the kidney. It goes up to here, right? This is the 27th point on the kidney meridian. So it goes from the feet up the side, you know, the insides of your feet, around the ankles, up the legs, up the body to here. So you can, I'm getting a phone call. You can flip your hand like a magnet on that point on the foot 3 times. That's all you need, 3 or 4 times. It's usually, you know, 3 times. There's only a couple of people that hasn't corrected with just that, and that's because they've had something really chronic, or even cancer, right? So we would there's other things that I do for chronic, but majority of people, like 98.8% of people doing that will correct, right? So just put that in. Do it 3 times. You wake up in bed, you put your foot up above your head if you can, or sit up and just do 1, 2, 3, right? On both feet. Get your spoon, spoon your feet. While you're there, press in, or even use your spoon to press on your shock points. Just a couple of times, right? Just keep you going. Why else that is important is because when I said, so let me finish this. When I said about your burning or your buzzing, or there's this adrenal buzz or this electrical system sort of going off, you're burning up. It's like this fuel is burning up, and it's got nowhere to dispel, like the shock. It can't get out, right? So it pinballs. This is how I see it. It pinballs the energy around the system because it needs to come back out into the earth. The earth loves our soot from our fireplace. We're burning, right? We're right? Does that make sense or not? You following my metaphor? We can't disperse the waste into the earth. So when we have irregularities, particularly in our feet, we start to repel, and then we can't, like, repel from the earth, then we can't disperse our waste or our soot from what our system's meant to do back into the earth. And she loves that. She loves that. She thrives off that. So it won't release the breath out. Our conducting pathways won't let us release or breathe out to get rid of our excess erratic energy. Make sense? So I think I'll leave it there, because otherwise I'll go on for 14 hours. And so do you have any questions before we go? I mean, I went through those quick, and there is, let me just see, there is some questions, I think. So people move closer to you. It might be because you feel your energy feels good to them, you know. The other thing is, I mean, this can take us into. I'm just reading your message about, you know, when you're in class or in places that people move towards you. You know how people. I don't even want to use this word, so I'm not going to. I'm going to try and say it in a different way. There's ways of speaking that produce fear, right? And so when we say, oh, that person just wants something from me, they're an energy, ... You know where I'm going? I don't want to say that because I don't want to continue to put that out into the field. Our systems are so magnificent that they unconsciously know what they need, and we will be drawn or repelled when you hug somebody. There's an exchange, and what you need you get, and what they need they get. And that's why a lot of well, it's not the only reason, it's one reason why a lot of yogis and stuff don't hug. Have you noticed that? They don't hug. It's, you know, right. There's a transference, and if you are with a lot of people all the time, it's a lot. It's not that somebody's taking from you in a bad way. It's polarity. So if my energy, if I have an excess of what you need, that can just happen. Yeah. Well, I'm a hugger. You say you're not a hugger. I'm a hugger. But I understand what's happening, and I'm okay with it. It's how I work when I'm doing the energetics, the high energetics. I'm aware of what's happening and how that's happening, and I choose to do it, or I don't choose to do it. It's the same as when I was younger. I didn't understand. I didn't know. So this is going. All right, just let me feel into this because it's a little deep. But see, because I don't know who's watching, so it's like, well, I'm gonna trust that whoever watches this can navigate it. When we are facilitating energetics, let's say, we have the capacity to give some of our essence away. You're only born with so much essence. So you could say an aspect of soul. You're born with a percentage of essence, and when it's gone, it's gone. You transition. Okay. We can give that to another to help them. We can't replenish that. When we give it, we give it. And I've done that to a degree. And now I understand it, and I still can choose to do that, right? But it's not my decision who lives and dies. Does that make sense? When I give some of my essence, some of my soul, my life to another, then like it's not my job to do, it's not my role to choose if that person is to live or die. When I work with you, it's around aligning and the shifting, and I guess it's where it's possible and where it's not, right? what's ready to move, what's not. If I come in and work with you and want it so badly for you to be better, whatever that is, I rob you from your experience. I take away your opportunity for grace to be touched by the beloved. Do you get it? Like with the animals. Who are we? And I know this is going to trigger some of you, but so be it. Who are we to take another person's experience from them? We can't see past the hump, right? Do you remember the other day I was telling you, where's the wave? Like you might be able to see the top of the wave, but the beloved can see way down the ocean to what is for that person, right? So you want to be able to ride the wave to a certain degree, right? And not be behind the wave. So in yoga, we say, you know, you ride the wave, you're trying to get almost in front of the wave to surf. You know how it's like the wave's sort of behind and you're surfing? But the beloved can see the whole ocean. All you can see, if you're conscious, you'll be in front of the wave. If you're completely comatose, you'll be you won't even probably see a wave. You know, I'm just making up metaphor here, but you get me? So who are we? And this is how I see it. So when I work with animals, myself, whatever, it's like, okay, may this experience come with grace. May it be gentle. If I'm to go, may it be gently. I'm not saying, I want to live, make me healthy. I'm not grasping. When you grasp, some of you, who did the flame with me the other day? The blue of the flame. And the blue of the flame is the fire devouring fire. And when you grasp onto her, she will devour you. And when you work with her, you are her. Right? So when you're grasping on for life, because the flame, actually, can you see this? It's the start of a painting we did yesterday in class. It's the underpainting, but can you see the flame in there? It's the blue of the flame, the blue-black, into the red, into the orange, into the yellow, into the whites. So this is an underpainting, so don't judge it. It's a process. We layer on to build a power generator that then informs us. It speaks to us. So this is one of the layers we did yesterday, which was about building and working with the aspects of the flame. The flame is a metaphor for our soul to spirit and how that works. And so some of you know a little bit about that, but where was I going with that? So the flame or a fire, let's just look at a fire with wood. The fire needs matter to burn. It needs fuel to burn, right? And this links to what we were talking about, because it's all fuel. And what are we doing? Burning. And then where does the soot go? Into the earth. It's not technically soot, but you get the idea of what we consume then goes back into the earth, like the trees. We breathe, what we breathe out, they breathe, right? It's this symbiotic relationship. So fire needs matter to burn. Matter is from the earth, right? The matter, our body, the physical, and our soul is the blue of the flame, or the flame rising to spirit. And there's aspects of the flame that are aspects of us. The flame has all these different levels and layers that mean something. I'll go into another day maybe, right? But the flame is still one. So it helps you. The teachings on the flame help you understand unity consciousness. When you say we are one, how are we one when there's so many of us? We're all different, right? There's all these flames, there's all this fire, but you can light another flame with the one flame. Like, right? There's so much to learn from just watching the flame. Anyway, that's another teaching, but the blue, right? So that is feeding off the matter of the earth, of us. If we are scared and we're grasping, so fear of love, because we want it, well, I'm not sure if we want it that way, right? So there's this fighting of the love. But if we go, yes, right? I choose. I'm in directorship. I'm choosing to work with this symbiotic process that will assist humanity through the rising of the flame. The top of the flame, the whiteness of the flame, is the light that is here, that we're able to see. But there's concealed light beyond what the human can access. And that flame and all the aspects of it that are an aspect of us and more assist in bringing the highest light, the primordial light, down into the earth. That light we can't access. It's like that flame. This, what I just showed you, this painting alone, like, I could teach on just this magnificent mess for probably the rest of my life, right? There's so much depth in what this process is, right? So I tell you story. I draw you pictures. I paint, and, we get to feel and all the rest of it in a way to help all the aspects of you all to be able to grasp where you're at, right? So, all right, where do we want? So the fire, earthing. So you can see now earthing isn't just like walking barefoot on the grass. It doesn't matter. If you're irregular energies, you can walk till the cows come home mooing at your door. I have tested this thousands of people over years. Right? Some people have said to me, oh, I sleep on these magnetic things every night. And I say, all right, come and see. And I had the biofield viewer said, I've done so many of these. Biofield viewer, come over and go through it. All right, let's look at your energy. Well, all I'm going to say is you can keep sleeping on that, but do this as well. And I show them little bits of what I've told you, and you can see it in the biofield viewer. So they don't have to believe me. That's why I got the biofield viewer. I understand energy. I don't need it. But some people need to see it so that they can then trust, oh, she knows what she's talking about, right? That's all. That's all. We don't need technology like that. The human being can do it. It's just there's something in our conditioning that says, oh, I'm not sure I believe that. I demanded my migraine go away the other day. I was laying in bed and I'm like, I am an advanced energy medicine practitioner. There's not much I don't know about energetics. And I'm laying here with a headache, like a migraine. Not a headache, it was a migraine. I was like, why haven't I just asked it to go away? Now, this might sound ridiculous, and it is. It's sort of ridiculous, because I said to Eric what I did when he woke up. I told him what I did, and he's like, so did it work? And I went, yeah. I just commanded it. Under no uncertain circumstances, I said, the inflammation that is creating this pain, you will go now. You will move through me into the earth. It is the end. I'm directing you. You're done. And I'm like, why did I suffer? Because I'm human. And this is why I'm doing this, right? Another reason why I'm doing this, because I forget. And if I forget and it's my life, you're going to forget. Like when you're in it, you're going to forget. This is why in trauma work, we teach the children and the adults in their calm times what they do. And they practice and they practice and they practice. So when the shit hits the fan, or the shift hits the fan, right? When that shift comes, which it will, at some point in time, it's going to come. You are able to regulate far better than if you didn't practice your regulation protocols, techniques, tools, whatever you want to call them, right? So I'm just feeling into it. So I think we've covered a lot today. It's I don't know, it's nearly 12 o'clock, so we started at 9:30. We've been on a while. I think you need to go to bed now. Thank you, Mercedes, for staying up late. I don't know what time it is where you are, where the others are, but I know in Spain. Oh, so before we go, let me say this. I'm really excited. I've been guided about this for a while now, and I just haven't had the capacity to add it. But our Circle in Grace, and some of you are in that, so you would have saw my message. So I'm growing what I'm going to call our prayer team, right? Our grace team. So that when people are asking for help, for prayer, for grace, for energy, for assistance, like there's just so many in my field, that our team, our community, I'm not sure what are we going to be, our circle of grace dispensers. Think of something lovely, right? The circle of grace. So the women, mainly women, but if men want to be involved, they're quite welcome. I'm just thinking, I think when we started we had some men, but so we have a community that's been running for a couple of years now. Yeah, I've lost track. Maybe a couple of years. And every week, couple of times a week, we would sit in circle at the same time and sit in grace, right? And grace is a higher energy than, so the energy that I've been teaching you here is energy medicine. Grace is beyond that, okay? So when we sit in grace, we're not saying you will be healed and this will happen for you and da-da-da-da-da. We sit in that energy. Oh, since 2021, there you go. So we sit in that energy, and we bring those people that are either transitioning or having challenges, health problems or emotional problems, whatever it is, or they're transitioning or they've just transitioned. We started to add that in, where we do particular work to assist those to enter through the different layers of the blue ethers, right? It's just to help. I do it with animals too, but so we would do that. So what's come in is that it became difficult for me to run that in the way that we were because of time differences and stuff. So I'm growing that. I want to grow that so that people can come and there'll be support from that community, so I won't have to run it all myself, right? And it might be, I'm going to look at, I just told you so quickly because we're going to wrap up, only get that automated so it won't be too much on anybody. But to start with, it might be a little bit of reminding people, right, what times they are, because we're going to shift the times so that there'll be, and specifically for those Europeans that, always seem to get left out. So I was looking at the times and how to do that. And I want to do it 3 times a week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It doesn't mean you have to be there every day. It means that some amount of you is sitting on those days for people, right? So it's like our service. And the reason why it's important, and I'm going to say this to those of you that are working with me or have worked with me or are interested in what I'm about to say, for your conscious evolution, your service is important to your development. How you receive, but how you give back, right? And as you're receiving, you can give back, which is sort of what I said today when it's your birthday. As you're receiving, you give back. How can we serve? And it might be that you are one of the ones in circle that volunteer to help me work out how to do it 3 times a week, whatever. So I'm just saying, and I very rarely ask for help. I'm just saying, if you're interested to help or you have an idea, let me know. I'm open to ideas. It's really strong that we come together and have this space that people can come. It's part of my ministry, right? That we have our prayer group or our grace group. And people can put in their prayer requests or requests for grace or for help or for extra love or whatever it is. And it goes to that group and they sit for them. Our group is power-filled. The ones of you that I'm looking at right now, we're like individually, but put us together. And it's so powerful and beautiful. And that needs to be shared, right? It's free. It's service. But it's very strong in my field and has been. And I've only just started to talk about it yesterday with the team, with some of you that are here. Like, okay, how are we going to do this now in a better way? It's not about me showing up live necessarily. It's about all of us being at the same time sitting in that energy. And just for like 10, 15 minutes, it might be like for 5 minutes. Some of you, it's just like 5 minutes sit. And the other reason why is because when we have something regular, it reminds us. It's for us too. It will remind you, if you're part of that circle already, and you know that we're doing that every week, it's keeping you connected every week. Maybe twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. Maybe it becomes part of your practice. It reminds us, but we're also helping others, right? We're building pillars of light. I'm a gatekeeper. We build pillars of light. This circle has been building a pillar of light since 2021, and it's powerful. You've seen, those of you that are in it, you've seen the testimonials. I don't share them live, but you've seen them. And the ladies that say, this happened, and this miracle happened, and that happened, right? You've seen it. Just knowing they're part of that group helps them through difficult times, right? I am being, even as I'm saying it, I can feel it. It's like powerful. It's like we need to continue that. We need to grow that. We need to make that accessible to others, or make that energy accessible to others, right? So that's what we're looking at as part of the ministry going forward. And those of you that have been sitting since 2021, geez, time goes fast, doesn't it? And I feel like, when I'm not live, it's actually even more powerful. I don't know. I mean, it's different. It's different. So I still do some live stuff, but I want this consistency of whether I'm there or not, we're sitting, right? It's like just for that point in time, all of us sit, focus, do the process, and then move on with our life, come back together. So that being said, so if you're interested, I'm just reading your message. If you're interested in subliminal stress, send me a message. It is posted on some of the things, but if you've got questions about it, let me know. Subliminal stress, like, just know that it's a whole workshop plus all this other stuff that is also on subliminal stress. But even if you just watch, like the first 6 hours, right? It's like going to a workshop. So, let me know if you're interested, if you've got any questions, because it is a new thing through Vimeo. Well, it's been around forever, but I've not used Vimeo before, and it puts it into videos on demand. So you'll see they're all there. You can read what they are. You can click on them, and it won't open them, but you can see the titles, and if you've got any questions. So you may not want to watch the whole lot. You may just want to go, oh, I want that bit or that bit, and just pay for that month, right? And so you can stream 500 times if you want. So does it go month by month or from the date you join? I guess from the day you join. I probably want to watch them all. Yeah. So that's the thing I was looking at, because one of my my teacher, Shiv, my Kundalini guru, Shiv, he does his by rentals, and that's how I found it. And I was like, oh, he rents it for this much for this. That's interesting, but it's all, you could see all the modules and stuff, and it's like, oh, well, I'm already part of Vimeo, because all the others cost money, right? And Kartra only give you 2 memberships, and then you got to pay another like $150 a month or something to get another 2. It's expensive, right? So anyway, I'm trying Vimeo. So there's 2 lots there. You can have a look at both of them. One's Mystic Medicine Woman, which is more like what we did today, and you'll see like the essence ones and all that. That's $37 American, $37. But there's 17 videos there, and it's, what did I work it out to? It says 20, 30, 35 hours of information, and they're not prattling on. They're like classes that I did an hour long. Maybe they go an hour and a half if there was questions, and they're on specific energetics and medicine women ways. So it's like, there's one on the essence, there's one on penetrating flow, there's one on earthing, there's one on oh God, they're all there. You'll be able to see them, right? And you can click on them and see, right? So so they're not like my lives, they're workshops, they're classes. So one's $37, and I can't remember what the subliminal stress one is. It's more, because it's it's more formal, it's the processes and whatnot. But go and have a look. I'm sorry, I can't remember. I didn't come here to sell it, but you don't know it's there if I don't say so. All right, let us wrap up now. If you have any questions, you know where I am, on either on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, or send me a private message or email about any of what we've talked about, or any of the classes or workshops, and we'll go from there. And the Circle and Grace, if you have any ideas about how to do that. I'm going to look at that in a minute. When I get off here, I'm going to see if Kartra will help me work out, pardon me, how we can do that, because what we need is a spreadsheet, some way of gathering all the prayer requests, right? Because people usually message me, or it'd be on like, it's all over the place, and I want to sort of streamline it so that I can have that document. So when you sit, you have that document, and even if you just hold that in mind, your intention is for those requests. Do you see what I mean? So I'm just trying to streamline that so it doesn't take like all day every day. Yeah, we used to do it, or we were doing it for like about a year and a half through Google Document, and there was 2 of us adding the names. But if we're extending that, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that admin wise. I've got a lot of admin, right? And I do alignments and other stuff. I don't just do lives. I have a business to run. Right. So if you have any ideas about that, let me know. And until we meet again, what day is it? Wednesday. I might pop in again. Who knows? Who knows what I'll feel like sharing. But thank you for coming in. Thank you for sharing my birthday. And before we go, this is the last bit. My green sand candle. This is a anointed candle from Israel. So I want to share the blessing. I want to share the blessing of this day, of the soul, of moi, coming in a little bit more, and I'm going to share the blessing. So receive it. Oh, I didn't tell you about the number. I'm going to have to come back and tell you. Maybe tomorrow, on my American birthday, tomorrow, right? So with the lighting of this candle, I want to invite you to share in the blessings of the light of the unified consciousness that's growing and palpating through the field, from my field to yours, connecting all of us. We see the red thread here, connecting us all through the invisible thread of life. May your blood be full and polarized. May your irregular energies be corrected, at ease, be filtrating, be smooth, be breathing in and have that exhale into the earth of any soot, any debris that's been burnt through your system, through its normal ebb and flow, the fueling of life, the fire, the passion of life, by the fueling of life. And may that symbiotic relationship with the earth remain in the purity of love. May she receive what you give through the process of your burn, of your soul to spirit. And may you share that with everyone and everything you come across in your journeys today. So thank you for being here, and may the blessings be. Much love.